let me skip to media. When I started our media effort about 12 years ago, my goal was to get up to about 100 media interviews and stories a year. And the idea is just drop seeds of truth in these stories, you know, just encourage and begin to move things in the right direction. I'll never forget, it was probably, I don't know how many years ago it was now, the Dallas Morning News came, it was Channel 5 actually, it was NBC, came out to us and a story had been done in the Dallas Morning News on the homosexual prom. A bunch of parents had got together and thought that would be a great idea, is to hold a special prom for all the homosexuals in the city. And so it was, here's how you get your tickets. There wasn't a single dissenting thought as to maybe that wasn't a great idea. And the big story in the Dallas Morning News. Well, NBC calls us and they say, you know, and they didn't know, this was an honest question. They said, we were wondering if, like, you knew anybody that might have a different idea or think this wasn't a great idea. And we said, yeah, why don't you come on out? We'll talk to you. And we sat down with them and we said, you know what? Every parent wants their child to be loved and accepted. And they should be, because they're made in the image of God and they're of great value. But we don't love or do right by our children when we accept or push them into conduct that's destructive for their lives. And that there are places where people who've gotten out of this lifestyle who could actually help people. Now, some people aren't going to like that message, but if we present those seeds of truth and message after message, you know, no matter how many bad messages are in the story, one bit of truth will have the darkness running. And so the idea is just to plant seeds of truth in these stories. Well, my goal, again, you know, here I am, you know, Mr. Brilliant business planning guy. My goal is to have 100 media interviews a year to be something we can get to. Well, I'm fortunate that God's in control of our business plan, because last year, and we're on the same pace this year, we had over 2,100 media interviews and stories, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, all the way down to local stuff. So Christian, secular, national, local. And the idea is just to do two things, really. To present seeds of truth to those who don't know the Lord, who don't know the right way. But then to also say things that Christians never seem to get to hear anymore. You know, sometimes you watch TV and you go, why doesn't anybody say what I believe? And the idea is if people see somebody, hopefully, that's thought through how to craft the message, if they see somebody say something, they go, that's exactly what I believe. The idea is that will embolden people to do the same thing in their own community. That believers can begin speaking out, taking a stand in a loving way, and making a stand in their own community for these truths. So that's kind of our goal with the media. And the last area is courts. And there's a lot of attacks right now. But the good news is we're winning in all these attacks. And so I tell people, they say, well, golly, it must be really tough right now with all the people in power and all this. And I'm like, you know what? If you're faithful and you just let the Lord direct you, there's always a way to win. You've just got to watch His hand and go where He's going. And so is it going to be hard to win a lot of legislative battles in the U.S. Congress because we're outnumbered by a lot of people who don't believe like we believe? Sure. But you know what? We can file a lawsuit wherever we want to. And we can pick our targets. And when people are overconfident, they make a lot more mistakes. And they do much more extreme things. And they provide opportunities for us to move freedom much and much further and protect it. And so I want to start off by just showing you a quick little video of one of our cases that's going to the Supreme Court in October. And this will give you a feel for how bad it really is getting out there. But I think they're overplaying their hand, and it's going to be to our benefit. If y'all can show that video now. It's about 5 minutes.
Following World War I, many veterans relocated to the Mojave Desert in search of physical and emotional healing. As they rebuilt their lives, the veterans chose this rock as the site of a memorial to honor their comrades who had died in battle. On top of the rock, they constructed a single white cross, a symbol used around the world to memorialize fallen soldiers. Today, that memorial still stands, but the ACLU is trying to tear it down. Sadly, a federal judge in California has ordered the cross covered from view while the case is on appeal to the United States Supreme Court. Riley Bembry was among the World War I vets who came to the desert. He helped build the memorial and dedicated the rest of his life to preserving it as a place where veterans could come to find healing.
Riley told us that there was a picture of a doughboy from like World War I on the back of the rock. That the cross sits right here, and you can see the doughboy there that he talked about right here. See that right there? And I kind of think maybe that's why they picked this exact area. Erected in memory of the dead of all wars. That's what it's all about right there.
Henry Sandoz was one of Riley Bembry's closest friends. In a time when it still meant something, Henry gave his word that he would care for the memorial after Riley was gone. Since 1984, he and his wife Wanda have made good on that promise, even though they now live 150 miles away.
It's very important just to keep the memorial. We love our country. We appreciate our veterans, everything that they do to keep this country free. I mean, where would this country be without them? And here's this simple little memorial that has been taken offense to out in the middle of nowhere. But it's important to us. It was important to Riley and his friends. And so Henry has really, it's really important to him to keep it going and keep it there.
So I just think it's part of giving to our country a little bit of what I can give, you know.
My first emotion in meeting with the Sandozes and seeing them out of the memorial and how it impacted them is it makes me angry that there's people out there that have nothing else better to do than to drive out in the middle of the desert in order to make sure that they're offended by that.
The ACLU's lawsuit is filed on behalf of one individual who lives in Oregon, who has said that he might come in the middle of the desert, drive on this desert road, and see the cross. And even though he's Roman Catholic and sees crosses all the time, that he would be offended if he sees the cross because he doesn't think the cross should be on government land. And the federal court in California has decided, both the district court and the court of appeals, that the Veterans Memorial has to be torn down. While this case is on appeal, they've actually covered the memorial in a bag. People were so offended by that evidently some people cut the bag off. So right now, this memorial, which has been there since 1934, the cross, is covered in a box of plywood. The U.S. Supreme Court will decide, and hopefully, we hope, reverse that, because we just think this is a disgrace.
This memorial and all those like it stand not simply for those that gone before, but those that serve now. If this memorial is torn down, it is quite literally spitting in the face of those that currently wear the uniform and those that will wear the uniform after them.
At VFW Post 7264 of Joshua Tree, California, veterans gather from near and far to express their concerns about the fate of the Desert Memorial.
But we are here now to fight to keep that little bit of hope standing.
We just really appreciate Liberty Legal coming in on this, and we're more hopeful now than we've been since this all started. And we just hope that the Supreme Court will realize that this needs to stay.
I just hope that they understand it for what it is. It's a Veterans Memorial, and the selfless sacrifice and service of those veterans deserves protection.
I do not want them to take it down. It would be, I mean, it would be like killing somebody. It would mean that much to me.
It would just shake my faith in our government. I hate to say that, but that's how I feel. I feel that strongly about it. And I'm sure Henry does too.
That'd be too sad. That'd be too sad.
Our veterans stood for us. Now that their memorials are under attack around the country, are you willing to stand with